Should I like run away and move to California and start a band? I don't know. You can at least dress like it. Hey, welcome back. I'm Tamara, I love to knit, and today's video is going to be another one in this series that I've been doing where I pick out really cute knitting patterns that fit different trends. And today's video is on the theme of boho. So I partly chose this because looking at like 2023 spring trends, because boho I've seen come up a bunch, but I extra wanted to do it because I just watched the show Daisy Jones and the Six, which follows a fictional rock group in the 70s, kind of based on Fleetwood Mac. And there is just a lot of good style inspo in this show. And I also think generally boho kind of makes sense for this time of year. Maybe you're like going to festivals this summer or hanging out at the beach. I think that it works really well for those things. I wanted to go through like fitting the general theme of boho, but what were some things that I especially saw come up as sort of themes in the show's costuming. So I have a kind of a wide range. I've got like tank tops, accessories, bottoms, dresses, layering pieces. So I'm sticking just to knitting patterns here for anyone else out there who's like a more confident knitter than crocheter. So let's get started on the patterns. Okay, so some dress patterns for you. Groovy Maxi Dress by Sachiko Bergen, and this one is a free download. I love the like self-striping yarn that this person has made it in. I love it layered in the photos with the turtleneck, so you could like carry it into cooler weather. Also think you could definitely like layer this with nothing underneath. I guess it's not really layering. Layer it over your naked body. It's a dress, you can adjust the length to whatever you want, so you could do a mini dress too, but I think the maxi dress is really, really cool. Okay, so lace in general is, I think, really a big part of a lot of the costuming in the show. You see both Mila's character and also Daisy's character wearing sort of like layered lace. That again is something I think crochet is just perfect for, but you can totally achieve a lace effect with knitting too. One pattern I wanted to suggest is the butterfly dress by Jenny Atkinson. It's like a little slip dress silhouette, but it has this really nice lace chart in it. And I think that you could make this in sort of like a natural color scheme. You see especially like Camilla in the show, I think, wears some like lighter like white lace, and then you could also make it in black. You see a lot of Daisy, especially towards the end of the series, wearing a lot of black lace, which I think is kind of like an edgier look. I think this is the type of garment that you could dress up in a boho way. Like you layer this and you put like, you know, a cool like leather vest open over it, or like a big belt around your hips. You can like boho it up, but I also think that this is something that you could sort of style a different way if you wanted a different look. There's also the Lacy Dress 09 by Shirley Patton. I actually just bought a book by her. I have right here. I've heard really good things about her generally. Like she's just very knowledgeable in this space. So I have to imagine that her patterns are really good. This one has kind of like it's sort of like a peasant style. It has eyelet lace, and then it has these bigger lace panels that separate it out. I know for sure that there was a look that Camilla wears that has lace paneling in a dress. And I think generally this sort of like peasant blouse, peasant dress was definitely a trend in the 70s that was really big. So I think this fits it really well. You could also make this as like a crop top and just not knit the bottom of the dress. Another one I wanted to recommend is the Knit Girl Summer Top and Dress by Joan Ho. I think a couple things about this fit the theme for me. One is the deep V-neck. I think you just see a lot of deep V-necks in general on the show, and then the little tie details on the straps. That's like actually why I wore this top for this video. I think that kind of like tie up details can just read as a little bit boho. I'm trying to like say to myself, why is that the case? Because like I talked about bows in my spring 2023 trend, but I think you can do bows in like a very, very girly way. But I think if you're using sort of like a more natural fiber, and especially if it's like functional tie, that reads as boho to me, as opposed to like a ribbon, for instance, is like kind of outside of this trend. You can again make this one crop shorter, or you can also even make it into a top. Let's talk tank tops, because I know this is so groundbreaking, like florals for spring. It's obvious, but a lot of cute tank tops in the show, and I kind of broke these out into some different like buckets of styles that I think map well to elements of boho and elements of the costuming. So the first genre of tank tops I want to talk about is lace tank top. The first one is called the Elegant Top and Shawl. I think that it has a couple different elements that read as boho to me. One is it has the tie straps. Two is it has the lace paneling, and some of the lace stitches that they're using are like kind of wavy stitches. So I think it kind of creates those like organic shapes. Then it's also buttoned in the front, which I think is also a trend that you see with like, you know, the vests worn as tops, etc. Next, lace top. I think it's so cool. It's called the Swell Crop Top by Lindsay Parkin. And it has a lace chart that's again with that sort of wavy pattern, but this one it's over the entire tank. So it gives you this sort of like uneven hem to it. And I love the colors that the sample is knitted in. I feel like those colors are just very like 70s retro. And I love the effect of doing stripes in this wavy pattern makes the stripes totally wavy. It like really accentuates that. And again, you have the little tie strap details. Next tank top is a pretty popular tank top. I feel like I've seen a lot called the Ingrid top by Gregoria Fibers. And this one is a different silhouette. It's a high neck top that has kind of like stripes of eyelet across it. I think especially in black or like a natural colored yarn, this one with the eyelet peeking through, I think it just has that like texture of the fabric and a little bit of peak of skin, and it has the positive ease. So all of those things together, I think, make it fit this theme. But this could be a good option if you're looking for a slightly different silhouette than some of the other things. Leaf top by Melanie Reinert. And this one is using a lace stitch pattern. It again has that V-neck and the button detail at the front. Picture you throw it on with like denim cutoffs and cowboy boots. I feel like I could picture Daisy Jones wearing that. Very similar to that is the Olive top by Knitting for Olive. This one is like a little bit less open since it's fingering weight, so you don't have the like eyelet peeking through, but I still think that this is just nice and sort of fits the like organic-y theme. Next one is the Lupini top by Jenny Ansa. So this is, again, has that like V-neck kind of shape to it, and it has this really pretty sort of textural flower details with like baubles and then also lace underneath it to create kind of like loop-in flowers. I just thought this one was really pretty. Right now I wanted to talk about some more sort of tie-up details because Daisy has some tanks that are like tie in the front. So the first one is the tie tank by Hannah Singleton. So this one is kind of a plain tank in the front, but the back has a deep V that ties in a bow. And I kind of like the contrast of the front being a little bit more modest and then the back being like a wow moment. Next one is the Made You Look top. I've talked about a similar version of this before. This designer has kind of a whole collection of these tops that all have this sort of like old bust area with a drawstring tie at the top. This one has ribbing underneath that, and you can make it a crop top, and you can add a like corset lace up feature in the back. I think the pattern is like flexible for that. And I think that this just sort of fits a little bit of that like peasant style that's popular in the 70s. And it also fits a little bit of that like corset lace up styling. And it's just a very cute kind of skimpy crop top that I think would layer really well too in the summer. This top is the Risky Business top. And this one has several ties along the front. You can see some of the testers only do like 2 ties, which makes it a lot more open in front. And some of the testers do multiple ties. Sort of looks a little bit like some corsety tops that Daisy wears. I really like especially sort of speckled yarn. I like the texture of it. So I really like that too. And then the Cordelia Bandeau by Gorilla Knits. So it has lace up in the front, and then it looks like a little bit of lace patterning right around the bottom border. You can cross the straps over into basically a halter neck. I think this just sort of fits the like corset elements that you see Daisy in. So another silhouette that I think you see a lot, especially on Camilla's character, is halter necks. So she wears some like plunging halter neck tops and dresses. You can get the like plunging neck, or even if it's a high neck, I think that that just kind of gives a 70s look. So the first one, we're going really literal with this one, is the That 70s halter, which is by Friday Knits, and it has the plunging V-neck, it has buttons along the front, it's a halter, and it also comes with 2 color charts that you can add on with duplicate stitch afterwards. I just think the silhouette for this one is really good, and you can also add with like a teeny little collar onto the halter neck, so that's like very 70s. I would use probably like wooden buttons or something a little bit more organic looking. You really don't see many like flower motifs in Daisy Jones. You see a lot more like lace and kind of like flowy things, maybe because it's kind of more of the like rocker take than hippie. I really don't know. Some more kind of halter type necklines. One is the Drawstring Camisole by Pearl Soho, and this pattern I think is free, which is nice. And it's not actually a halter neck. I guess. It goes around, has kind of like a folded hem around the front and the back, and then it ties around the back. So I like the little tie-up detail. The Gemini Moon Crop by Disco Stitch. This one I picked because I really like the edge details that's in like a contrasting color around it. I think that you see a lot of like DIY elements in boho and 70s stuff in general, like reusing things, and imperfect is good. So there's a jacket that I think Graham Dunn's character wears at some point that is like a leather jacket, and it has that almost kind of like mattress stitch edging along all of the different hems and edges of the jacket. In a lot of 70s clothes, there's these kind of like handmade DIY elements to them, whether it's like patchwork, kind of the spirit of like mending your clothes, etc. So my mom actually has a pair of bell-bottom jeans that she wore a ton in high school that are absolutely covered in patches. Like every time that she got a hole in them anywhere, she would just add a new visible patch on them, which when I was growing up, if my jeans got a hole in them, maybe I would try to patch them in a very non-visible way. But I think this like embracing the spirit of your clothes having character, having like lived a life before you, I think is very cool. I think is very boho and 70s. So this top, the border along the edging, a little crochet trim added to it. I think it's just really cool and gives that sort of DIY, almost looks like mattress stitching, but it's not quite. This one's not quite a halter, but Camila wears this knitted top that has kind of like a neckband and then a gap underneath it. I knitted a top pretty similar to that called the Boob Window Top by Majesta Quaquel. It's a raglan, but it has like this initial neck band. I really loved that top. I've worn it a ton. I think it's just really cool. So then another, what I think is a really cool 70s element is the handkerchief hem. So that's basically where instead of the bottom hem being flat across, it comes into a point or it comes into multiple points. And this again had like a 2000s resurgence. I wanted to pick a couple of tops that have this, which I'm really, really into this look. So the first one is called The Bronze by Allison Cribbs. I kind of wonder if that's a reference to like the bar that Buffy and all of her friends hang out at in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because I could do an entire style video about her. She wears a lot of 70s looks. This one has a halter neck, it has the handkerchief bottom, and then it also has a little lace-up corset back. So this is just like hitting a bunch of things for me. You could pair that with denim cutoff and suede boots and sort of like a lacy cover up and have it be a boho look. Or I think you could pair it with like a silk midi skirt and have it just be kind of a chic look. Another handkerchief halter neck top is The Summer Sun by Julie Knits in Paris. And one thing that I think is really cool about this one, the whole top is like knitted at this angle, which I think is probably either due to increases or decreases that give you that effect. So actually, if you wanted to knit this in a variegated yarn, or if you wanted to add stripes, it would give you this like chevron effect, which maybe some people are like, oh no, not chevrons. Like we lived through the like teal and blue chevron era of, I don't even know, 2008 or something. But chevrons were originally a cool 70s trend. So maybe revisit it. Let's talk about vests. Characters of Karen and also Simone wear some vests without anything underneath, and I think that's just like a cool girl kind of rocker outfit. Like, oh, you're supposed to wear a shirt under these? Like, I don't know, I'm just so chill, I forgot mine. Well, I had a couple of vest suggestions. One is the Milk Top by Le Pull. Basically the silhouette is almost like as if you're wearing a vest with nothing underneath, even though it's actually a top. And I like the sort of boucle texture. Hers is alpaca, which I think would be a little hot for the summer, but you can find other boucle yarns. And I used this cotton yarn called Cascade Fixation. That's like a stretchy kind of boucle-ish cotton elastic blend that's super, super comfy for the summer. I use that for my cherry bomb crop pattern, and I think that one gives you some of a similar effect, but a lot better for warm weather. So you could experiment with that or just look around for other yarns, but I really like the silhouette. Also a similar top called the Vacation Vest that just came out by Park and Knit. Honestly, it has a very similar vibe, so you can check out that one too. Hers is knitted in cotton. I've seen this silhouette in other like off the rack clothing that you could buy. I've seen this before. So anyway, I think that this is cute. I think it's like a very breezy summer style. Next one I wanted to suggest is the Ribblesdale Vest by Lily Kate Makes. So I actually knitted this one actually probably just about a year ago, and it's a great project if you haven't done brioche before. And I made mine in this like brown yarn that I found at a thrift store, but I think the earthy brown like really gives it a 70s vibe, especially if you wear it with like a button-down shirt underneath. But it also looks really cute without anything underneath it, just as like a tank top. But for summer, I would probably do it in like a cotton or cotton merino. And one sort of trend that you see a lot like on the show is sheer elements. I thought that this like mini collection from La Pole worked really well for that. There's the orange trousers, the lime skirt, and the apple dress. And those three, I think, all have this like sheer element to them with a little bit of interest of like the diagonal striping of the twisted rib. These would probably be pretty easy projects too, since it's just like all twisted rib, which naturally sort of does that diagonal shaping. And it gives you that like layering, kind of like lace, kind of like sheer, but a little bit like a beachier slash like festival look. So I think these would look really cool as beach cover-ups. You could layer it with a slip underneath. You could layer it with like shorts and a tank top underneath. I think it would just be really cool to layer these. Okay, so this one has fringe, which I think you definitely see on several like Daisy Jones looks. But this one is like you can kind of switch between a poncho and a skirt because it just has a drawstring waist and this like V front, especially in the photo they used with this sort of like natural color where it hits kind of above the knee, but I love it with the knee-high boots. I think also since it's a drawstring waist, you could wear it high-waisted or you could pull it down and wear it low-waisted. So that's nice to have the flexibility. So Daisy wears a bunch of caftan kind of layers over a bunch of tanks that she wears. So one that I thought was really good for that was called the Davenport Caftan Swimsuit Cover-Up. So it has drop stitches, so it gives you that like open kind of look, and it has the like drapey sleeves, but it also looks like it has a little tie around the waist so you can get a little bit of definition but still get the very loose kind of look to it. Another drop stitch pattern that I've had my eye on for a while is the Bogey Birdie top by Liz Hirschison. But this one alternates, I think, garter stitch and drop stitches, and drop stitches just give this very open effect. And I think that it almost reads a little bit like fringe to me because you have like the lines of the ladders of the stitches. I think this sort of semi-distressed organic look is super boho, and I also think would make a great layering piece. There's also the fringed kimono by Irene Lin. So this one has the same very drapey kind of kimono caftan look to it that Daisy wears a lot. It has fringe on the bottom and it has a chevron lace pattern. So I think it is hitting a bunch of these different sort of elements that we've talked about. For a little bit more glam, there's the crazy loop fur from Larky Bagger. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this is kind of like almost gives a fur bomber look. And I think with like 70s rocker glam, fur is totally a part of the vibe. The more textures, the better. I just had to include it because I think like how cool you can basically make a fur cropped jacket out of yarn. You're gonna be the rock star of your local yarn store if you make that. Little accessory for you is the Santa Fe belt by Joan Beebe. Knit in cotton, DK weight. It has this really cool texture to it. I think it looks like a combination of garter stitch, cabling, and beading in the center. And I think with this, especially with the like kind of tassels of I-cords that you use to tie it with, I just think this one looks very 70s like rocker cool, especially if you wear it kind of low slung around your hip. On the topic of patchwork, I really tried to find this bag that I had seen on Instagram like a year or two ago that I'm pretty sure was entrelac knitting, which like has you knit kind of diagonally off of different pieces. I think I've never done it, but it has this like really cool patchwork effect. And then one more accessory. You thought that I wasn't gonna mention petite knit in a boho video. I know, I fooled you, but I do like the Technicolor tote bag that she has. It has kind of like this gradient marled effect where you sort of gradually swap out yarn colors because you're holding, I think, multiple yarns together. And I think this one is just really cool. Okay, my battery is about to die. That is a ton of knitting patterns. I hope that this was fun. I would love to know, are you into any of these boho looks? Are you into 70s? Did you watch Daisy Jones and the Six? And if you enjoyed this, I would love if you subscribe and hang out with me again next time. I post videos every Friday, and I also share all my projects on Instagram. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. These are so fun. You guys are the best, and I'll see you next time.